Here we are, the Comedy's Best Kept Secret Tour podcast. I'm here with Andrew Frank. We're on our way to Albuquerque from Oklahoma City. We've been in Oklahoma City for like a week. We're going to be in Albuquerque for a week. Doing Make Me Laugh and Comedy's Best Kept Secret Tour stuff. We spent a couple days apart. Now we're back together. Here we are. What's going on? Oh, good. This will be a fun podcast for an hour. So I got into a pretty intense conversation last night with someone about porn, and what I thought was a conversation where we were like stating various viewpoints, I quickly found out was a conversation where this person had basically made up their mind that porn changes the way people have sex, and I thought they were speaking on behalf of themselves, but it turns out they were speaking on behalf of how other people have sex with them. Okay. Which after almost an hour of the conversation and realizing where we're at, I wasn't sure was a fair statement. Nobody can tell me how I have sex based on my porn habits. You can tell me how you have sex based on your porn habits, but I don't know. How do you feel about porn?
It's a difficult thing. I mean, ultimately, I think it's a problem because it makes things too easy.
What makes what too easy?
Well, technology in our modern culture has made us have easy access to things that you're supposed to go earn. So biologically, you're supposed to go earn some sex. You're supposed to earn a mate, whoever that is. And now you don't have to put any actual work into it. You just click a button and then you feel all the things that... I mean, it's very confusing to the brain.
Do you feel all the things?
Not all the things, but for the amount of effort that you put in, because almost every organism tries to conserve energy. So, what's, a better way to conserve energy than to just, instead of actually going out and finding, spending time finding someone to have that experience with, than to just seriously sit there and click on a thing and do that. It's very confusing to the brain. And it's very rewarding to the brain, but I think it's detrimental to your actual life.
But I don't put the two together.
I don't know if you can separate them.
I don't use porn or masturbation in place of sex.
To an extent, everyone does.
Sure, but it doesn't stop the need for a connection and a sexual interaction. It doesn't dead those things. It's like a temporary solution. I always like the way Louis C.K. said it. For men, it's just release a little bit of the PSI.
Yep.
So you got to get the danger levels down.
I have no issue with masturbation. I think that's a very logical thing for us to do. But the way we do it is probably not all right.
What?
All the stuff we get mixed up in that,
What do we get mixed up?
You should, your body's making sperm cells all the time. You should get rid of some of them.
Your body's going to get rid of them either way.
Yeah.
If you don't do it, then you're going to wake up in a puddle.
Yeah. So we need to get rid of them, preferably not inside of another person. Don't do that. As much as your body wants you to do that.
Yeah.
And there will be too many people. There already are.
Okay.
That's what's so funny. Is like there's so many people, and we're trying to be careful. we're trying to not overpopulate.
We're not doing a very good job. No, we're not doing a good job at all.
I have no problem with
I don't
masturbation, but I don't know, porn. It's interesting you've been talking to porn stars so much.
Yeah, so that's a side note. I've started a podcast called Porn Stars Are People, and this is the thing. The goal of that podcast is to talk to porn stars and not talk about the adult industry, because I don't want to get into the ins and outs of the porn. I don't want to watch videos of chickens being murdered, and I don't want to know about the psychological toll that the porn industry takes. And then I don't want to know. It's just that's not. I don't know. I guess I'm afraid of it a little bit.
So in any industry that large, there's going to be a variety of experiences. So I'm sure there is a portion that enjoys their work. As they are self-actualized individuals.
Yeah.
That's really what they want to do, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know the difference between that person and the people that are trapped in a system that is very brutal and
I never told you, but one of the things that I thought when I started the podcast was that there are parallels to our industry and their industry. I think it's relatively the same size. I think there's something interesting about it, the fact that if you just stay in porn or comedy for 10 years, you're a veteran, and you get pay increases. And I think accessibility-wise, I think it's about the same. They all know each other, and as outsiders, it's harder to reach. So that was, these were all things that I was trying to draw on when I came up with the podcast.
Do you think it's something that you can evolve your skill set over a 20-year career?
A porn star?
Yeah.
Well, I think yes, because I think as a veteran, you're accessible to more things, and as you build a following, and this is what's interesting about entertainment industry is if you just build a following, then you have a career in something else afterwards. So a lot of porn stars have moved their way into.
Well, they go to stand-up.
Well, now they're going to stand-up, right? And that was the original one. Was I was like, all these porn stars are doing comedy. I can just reach all of them.
Yeah,
But no,
that's everyone's last attempt.
they do stand-up. They do.
They can get 200 people in a room.
Yeah, Jesse Jane, I interviewed yesterday, has 1.2 million Instagram followers.
Yeah.
If I had 1.2 million Instagram followers, I could walk into any comedy club in the country and go, hey, I'll post this show, let me get some time.
Yeah,
And that's how our industry
I was
works.
thinking about this the other day about, I kind of have an aversion to all that social media stuff because it's very new, and I don't know, and I think if we're talking about rewards, we're talking about
you think
rewards.
it's evil?
Well, I don't think it's evil, but I think if we're talking about reward systems in your brain, I think we've hijacked this thing, and it's very similar to the porn thing, where it's like,
How many likes did I get?
Yeah.
How many likes?
Well, and it's like, and it actually prevents you from maybe going out and getting those real chemicals from real experiences.
Real likes.
With real people.
Real likes.
Yeah, no one really likes you.
I have 15,000 Facebook friends, and none of those people will be at my wedding.
But anyway, I was thinking about historically you look at these rebellious geniuses in comedy. It's like I was thinking would Lenny Bruce have an Instagram right now? If you were alive right now, would he?
Right,
have
he wouldn't.
one?
He wouldn't.
I don't think he would.
He wouldn't. Well, so then look at who. Well, so
but then it's like, so are we just gonna miss out on all the new Lenny Bruces
so who's the
because
guy?
they're not on Instagram?
So who's the guy? Like, could we say Bill Burr's the guy in that scope?
I suppose I don't know what he's doing.
And he has 4/5 Instagram posts. I just looked the other day because Nate Bargatze was on the road with him. Nate posted 25 pictures with him and Bill Burr at Daytona, and Bill Burr has one. I think he has one Instagram post from like 6 years ago.
Yeah, because I guess my point is,
but then
like,
he has a podcast.
Yeah.
So
true.
it's like, and that's
a podcast makes a lot of sense.
Well, that's what I think is
that's like
interesting.
ultimate freedom. That's
what I think is interesting is there's no like, you have freedom on your Instagram page to post whatever you want. Your Twitter page post whatever you want. Right?
I guess so, but you're still a slave to the fact that you got to put up content all the time. You don't
have to. You do whatever you want.
That's part of why I shy away from it is because I don't want to be taken out of the moment by me capturing the moment.
Yeah.
Like I went to the wildlife reserve. We didn't take one picture out there, and it was awesome.
Yeah.
Very picture worthy.
Yeah.
And we didn't show anyone else that. That was for us to experience.
Sure. But see, but you did that as as a rebellious thing.
No, it was just like, why is it anyone else's business?
Devon Self Storage. I wonder if it's the same company. I bet it is. One company. There's only 6 companies that own everything out here in Oklahoma. Anyway, we've diverted away from the conversation.
It's not rebellious to not take pictures. It's just that should be the default thing.
That's
how people are supposed to live.
But if we're having this conversation afterwards, and you're like, well, it's freeing to not take a picture, then I mean, in a sense, it is, isn't it?
I don't know. I'm just saying it wouldn't have been as enjoyable if we were like trying to find them. I mean, I even mentioned like there was this amazing mountain, and the sun was looking cool, and I was thinking about people who, and I know it doesn't really work this way, but it looked like a screensaver on a Mac, right? And I was thinking about if these photographers go out into nature to find the most beautiful things to capture those to put on our screens, if that's the purpose for it, or if they're just trying to capture like a great picture.
No, and that's the problem. And then, and then this goes back to the art conversation and the advertising conversation and all these things. Is they know they can make $75 on that picture every time it gets used. So that's absolutely what they do.
Yeah,
Is they go look for the thing. In New York, a buddy of mine is a member of the paparazzi, and there's always the piles of people, and they stand outside the London hotel, and they wait for Iggy Azalea to walk out, and they go, Iggy, snap, 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 and they sell that photo for $50. And if they get 10 photos in a day, then that's a good day.
Okay, how about this? Do you think if someone is living that life, does Iggy Azalea, does she deserve privacy, or has she signed on to be the recipient of the paparazzi?
Yeah, that's tough.
I think that it's so invasive and that it's so wrong to do that to people. I don't care who you are. I don't care how famous you are. Stay away from these people.
Well, you're in public, right? You're in public. You're a public figure. It's like, look, there are boundaries to it. Because the thing is, where do you draw the line? It's like, it's cool when she's at the Grammys standing in front of the sheet to take the photo, but then if she's walking in and out of the hotel, it's not cool. Like, it's tough. I don't know.
I don't know either.
It's tough because, I'm in an industry where I would love to be relevant enough to have people following me around trying to take photos of me.
No one's doing that to comics.
Well, they did to Offerman. There's Iggy Azalea. The next person who walked out was Nick Offerman.
Oh, okay.
It's so funny.
I'm saying no one's doing that to a stand-up comic. Like, no one cares.
Yeah, the way you've used stand-up comics, but the ones that the ones who obviously make it are the ones who are in movies.
Yeah, but that's way beyond like stand-up.
Sure.
So no one is like getting hounded by the paparazzi because their stand-up act is like no one cares. Like Kevin Hart's like massive, but
right.
it's obviously he's done a lot of stand-up.
Yeah.
But his main exposure, the reason he's so visible in our culture is because of Nike and
movies.
Because of
movies. Yeah. Well, back to porn.
Okay.
And masturbation and that whole thing. The argument that was was this idea that it changes sex, but I don't know.
It does.
For me, and I guess one of the points in that conversation was about the expectation of sex now with porn, but I don't know, like, isn't it all about information?
I don't know who you're talking to. Yeah, I suppose, but it's like you have to understand that any new technology, and this, pornography in its current state has been around for quite a while,
right.
for a couple decades.
Well, even sex, there's nothing new in sex.
Yeah,
nothing new in sex. People were doing orgies in the Renaissance period.
You have to understand this, specifically in this country with kind of our puritanical roots. People, like, sex has always been a very private thing. Mm-hmm. Obviously, it's been a part of art and a part of culture forever. Yeah. But I think that having access to, porn and people watching copious amounts of it over their lane from age 12 to whatever, it really informs the way you view sex. Sure. And I agree with that. The things that you do in sex, where it's like you take a Christian man who is a virgin until he's married, and he has sex with his wife, and it's righteous and God loves it or whatever. They're not doing the things that are being seen in the Sure. I don't know. Viewing all the stuff that goes on in there definitely informs what we do.
That's my argument on information is like, just, like, if you don't know that people do this, and that's even an option for you, then you don't do it. If you haven't seen somebody, I don't know, go down on somebody, then you're just like, oh, that's not a part. But that's a great part of sex.
It is. But here's the thing: is I think, generally speaking, I don't think that we are as curious as we should be. So yeah, sexually we should be curious. We should try things, right? Sure. But I think we're such social creatures, and we want acceptance and to fit in so much that we need to see that other people are doing things first to see if it's okay. Sure. That's how we are with our beliefs. That's how we are with everything. It's like we look around, we go, what is everyone else doing? I'll do that.
Yeah.
And
people are coming on each other's faces, so let's do that.
Yeah, I've seen someone else do it. And like, think about how much of a risk that would be if you didn't know how it went. You know, if you had never seen that happen.
Okay.
And you didn't know how, you know, your partner would respond to that.
Yeah.
But you know.
Well, you still don't know.
You don't know, but you at least go like, hey, I've seen this happen several times, and it worked out okay for that.
Right.
You know.
So that's bad.
It is bad if you.
Doesn't that get us to a greater place? Doesn't that get us to a sexual freedom that we should have? Do you support? Do you support sexual freedom?
I do, but I don't. When you were talking about pleasure and stuff, it's like. I think the American view of pleasure is like feeling the best all the time is what life should look like, right? Eat the stuff that tastes the best. Do everything that makes you feel good.
Yeah.
We live in a convenience, comfort, pleasure culture, and that's what all these corporations offer us is instant pleasure, right?
Sure.
Just what the click, you know, you click and you experience sex, right? Instant pleasure.
Yeah.
I think that is not freedom. I think that is being a prisoner of your own desires. You know?
Okay.
And so, like, maybe freedom is getting past those. You know? I don't know. Do you ever feel good after you watch porn? You ever close the browser and like go, well, let's start the day?
I don't feel bad. Yeah, that's literally how my day starts.
No. You didn't answer the question. I said, do you ever feel good? Feeling not bad is not the same as feeling good.
No, but I think there's this thing where some people feel bad after they look at porn. Every comedian's got that joke about how everything in masturbation is is like green light until you come, and then everything you just feel awful. But I don't know. I use porn. The thing is, I use porn as a tool to aid in masturbation. And that's really
but aren't we deadening our imagination? Isn't our pineal gland being like glazed over by the fact that we never imagine anything anymore?
Maybe, but
people don't read and people don't imagine when they're masturbating. And when the fuck are we ever supposed to have images in our head that are from us?
Yeah.
You know, if people are always projecting images at you, like,
but it's a byproduct of everything else that's happening around us. Like, I'm not.
I know that's what I'm saying. Is like if you just consume all the images that are around you.
But I don't think porn's worse than TV. It's the same. It's the same problem. It's the same byproduct.
Yeah. And I mean, if we're talking about technology informing the way we speak and the decisions we make, television taught the English language to an entire generation.
I know a fuck ton about the world through television.
But it's not real. I do. Real quick, I wanted to say. Hearing Trace and people from Oklahoma say oil is so funny to me. Because it's just they say it like it's OIL. It's
oil.
It's not. It's one syllable. Oil. Which
I remember Nate Bargatze and said oil. No, I talked about the podcast, the other one about the vowels, the vowel thing. Vowels here all screwed up. Christy was saying Tinder. She kept saying tender. Yeah. She was on a Tinder tour, and I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And the cult. They kept saying cult. Cult. When they were talking about going to visit the cult, they kept saying cult, and I was like, are you talking about like a small horse? What are you talking about?
It's a cult. It's a cult.
We're gonna go join a cult.
But no, it's not real. TV's not real.
What is not real? Again, a lot of my information that I have, whether it's real or not, like, you know, everything that's written is based in some historical context and some basis of reality, and all those things have informed me about the world in a lot of ways, and not right or wrong.
Here's what they need to do.
I mean, maybe it's wrong, but it's.
We are such an image-based culture that they need to sit kids down in school. I'm not saying don't watch stuff, but they never teach you how to critically watch things. They never teach you how to, like, so if you're going to watch something, if you're going to watch NBC, know who's making this stuff, like, who's telling you this stuff.
But everybody knows that now.
No, they don't, though.
That's the stuff. I live in a very different environment.
I know.
Because you live in Missouri, and I still think that Christianity is not a big part of people's lives. And then we come out here.
Okay.
We come out to Springfield, and it becomes a real problem. People say things to you like, "We're in the Bible Belt."
Yes. And my theory is that the entire planet is the Bible Belt. And it's not specifically the Bible, but other books like the Bible. But the Bible's
globally, sure.
Yeah. Anyway, on the way back from the Wildlife Refuge, we went through the radio stations.
I've listened to radio in Oklahoma once.
We counted how many Christian stations there were.
Yeah.
17 out of 41.
Yeah.
That's huge for one genre of.
It's so funny what is entertaining for you. To me.
Studying the culture.
I found it interesting that I did turn on the radio for yesterday for the first time on this entire trip. That's what I thought was great. Me and Adam never listened to radio. You and I haven't listened to radio yet, but it was the first time I was kind of alone and had like a little period of time to drive. And I turned on the radio, and it was all.
I bet it was 7 minutes, and it felt like a day for you.
It was all some sort of pundits, and they were basically just talking shit about. Obama, it was very strange. And then there was the relationship advice guy. But yeah, it was like mostly talk radio for some reason.
It'd be funny if they mixed it. It was like people calling in about the troubles of the relationship. He's like, well, Obama really screwed over your relationship. What do you expect? With Obama as president. I wonder if people have better romantic relationships when the president of their party is in office.
That was something that's, I don't remember where this came, but this is a real thing in my head. It was like, people were getting laid. Like, actually, this is somebody's joke. I think people were getting laid. Like, the joke was like, people were getting laid when Clinton was in office. That's things were good. People were getting laid, man. Then Bush gets in office, and it's just people were getting divorced.
I think it was before that. Someone has a bit where it's like talking about there was some liberal. I guess it was Jimmy Carter or something. But then like Reagan, so Bush and Reagan was like then AIDS came about, and so the sexual revolution was conservative.
Yeah.
And then AIDS was like a big deal.
And they're not wrong.
Yeah.
I told you, we talked about this, right? The first thing I want to know more about Jimmy Carter, because the first thing that Reagan did was take the solar panels off the White House, which Carter put on.
So funny,
so ridiculous, and that goes to speak. I mean, that moment is the world that we grew up in, the world that we live in, you and I.
Who can you can like oil and you can like coal and that sort of thing, but like how is if they're already up, if there's already functioning solar panels on your roof, why would you take them down?
Money.
I know it's a matter of like
money.
It's a symbol.
Money. Money. He took them down and he got paid.
Yeah.
He took them down and he told the world that gas and oil are the thing.
Yeah. I don't have
coal too.
I haven't lived long enough to see how things have changed a lot.
Right.
But I have a theory that people who are older and reminisce about the Reagan years or all that stuff are seriously, they have an emotional, they have an attachment to their youth. So they basically give credit to whoever was in office or whatever was happening culturally.
Sure.
But what they liked about the past was that they were young.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
They were like, hey, I felt so good, and now their body's like dying, and they're like, why can't things be like the 80s?
Right, and like, my brain goes where it always goes, and like, Reagan was in office, and people were getting blowjobs, and they remember those blowjobs in their Camaros.
What is this person doing? Backing up on the...
Yeah, they got off the wrong exit. Just do what you want here.
All right.
John, there was an accident on our way to Pops. There was an accident on the on-ramp, and the people that got in the accident just got out of their cars.
Did you see yesterday?
And there was things
was the one that was upside down?
No.
No, I saw a car upside down.
Oh. Well, that happens. That happens a lot.
And we went to that banjo museum, and it was cool, but it was just
banjo museum?
Yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
It was cool, but it was just a bunch of banjos.
The first 8 minutes
you go through like this little like animatronic.
And it's just people going bang, 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 bang.
But then you just find out that the entire history of banjos is just super racist. So then it's kind of hard to watch.
It's so funny because that's the history of our entire country.
I know.
Seton Smith used to have this joke about how he was.
You can't really go back that far.
He's from Georgia, and he'll be like in this beautiful house in Georgia, and it's like a plantation house, and they're doing this, and he's like going through this tour, and his brain and his I think his brain. He said his slave brain was like slave built this house. Like it's great. But it's like that's how awful our history is.
It's so bad. You can't even go back to you can't even really look at entertainment in this country.
No.
The biggest stuff, you gotta understand, the biggest thing, international phenomenon was minstrel shows.
Yeah.
People painting their faces black and all that stuff. And we just have those were the most talented people alive. I'm sure there were more talented people that were still oppressed and couldn't become famous or whatever.
Yeah.
But some really skilled musicians, and we just have to go nah, we can't pay attention to them because they're all.
I was in one of the record shops when you went to the library in Lexington. I was in one of the record shops with Adam, and we went to the hip hop shop, and it was very different than the shop that we were at, and then he was talking about the genre of doo-wop, and I was trying to figure out what made doo-wop, and he was he had his theory and I had mine. But my big thing was that most of those Italian singers. All of those songs were written and half the time sung by black people, and they just put Italian people's faces on the music, and those people were getting paid, and and the guys who really wrote the and who sang the song were getting paid pennies on the dollar. And this is like in my parents' lifetime.
Yeah. Well, that's what I was thinking. We saw Get Out again yesterday, and I was just thinking about maybe the reason America is so mentally ill and crazy is because we have no real identity. We stole everything. Sure. So maybe we're constantly who are we? And we're nothing. We stole a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
And there's nothing that's really uniquely us. Stand-up is one of the things. Hip-hop is another one of the things. At the Banjo Museum, they're the 5-string banjo is the only uniquely American instrument, right?
Is that true?
Which, but the 4-string banjo already existed. We just added one string to it, and that's what we call an invention of an instrument.
Yeah. Wow.
But the 5-string banjo is better.
But
that's what we do.
But how
take stuff that already exists, make it our own. We just consume it. We suck it all up. We take the life out of everything.
But you're blaming America for that. But a lot of the world existed when we showed up here as British people. And
no, it was a fresh start. We could have learned from all of history. And
we invented a country. That's the thing that we invented. We took a place.
Yeah, we could have done anything with it, and we just stole a bunch of stuff and killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And that was the whole basis. That's what we built everything on top of. It's no wonder we're so cursed. No wonder we're such an empty, desperate, depressed nation. It's because we look at how we built the foundation of the country is murder and slavery, and that's the whole thing.
No, the foundation of the country is big corporations, a big civilization, a big king, a big figure, just taking and abusing a piece of land. That's what that's what Oklahoma City is. It's oil companies came, said we're the only job in town. You have to work for $8, and that's the job. And then when oil goes bad, we were talking about it yesterday. They're acting like oil is bad right now. The price of oil is fluctuating. It's still like hand over fist, just money on top of money.
I like the idea that I know this isn't how oil works, but the oil goes bad. And you're oh shit, it spoils.
We got so much oil.
The oil spoiled. It's getting all curdled.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what color does it turn when it goes bad?
It's all oh man, we left this oil out too long. Once it gets past 50 million years, that's when it starts to go bad.
I'm confused. Are you talking about oil?
I'm talking about oil.
Or are you talking about oil?
Oil.
So how do you feel about all in your porn?
I tried to write a bit a long time ago about how basically a lot of comics have this joke about the shift between like before you ejaculate and after you ejaculate.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
And so the joke was like, you know, men specifically will do all sorts of things to get to that moment, and then you look back and you go like, man, I can't believe I did all that stuff to get to that.
Shit, right.
And so then the analogy is like, that's what we're like, the oil is the Earth's cum, and once we get it all out, we're gonna be like, oh my god, I can't believe we killed that many people and like did that many things to get this.
It's a good joke.
It is kind of, but that's the problem I run into is like, I come up with good analogies, but they're not necessarily funny. You know.
And then this is the problem with hanging out with you is now I'm like, you know, there's all this shit I want to talk about. And this idea in my head is so funny to me.
That's a problem.
This tragic idea. Here's the thing. This tragic idea is so funny to me that like we think as people, and this came up last night, that we're the best person that's qualified to decide who we should date. And I think we're the worst. And I don't. And there's not. To me, it's funny because it's tragic. Because then who?
Yeah.
If you can't decide who you're good for because of all these blocks you set up, because you don't even say the thing that you mean to the person that you really feel this way to, and all these things, all these emotional things that are built into you, you know, from your childhood and all throughout relationships, right? If you're not the best person, then who could it possibly be? And there's no real answer. So we're all just doomed. That's why it's all divorce and it's all falling apart because you pick the wrong people.
Well,
you get 2 years in a relationship and you realize the person you're with is the same person you were with 10 years ago. And it's going to be the same problems you're going to bump into over and over again because you're attaching yourself to something that you recognize, and now you realize this person sucks too.
Yeah, but I think here's what's happening. It's like I think we are good at choosing the people for us, but only who we are when we chose them, and then people change.
I don't know. I haven't had relationships long enough where I've changed that much as a person that I'm.
Maybe you didn't know who you were when you chose.
And I think that's the problem, is I don't think we ever really know who we are, and as soon as we know who we are, we're somebody else. Because as soon as we decide who we are, then you can either just sit in that moment.
It's something that you decide.
No, but once you decide, once you think, no, but people do it all the time. People are stubborn. They're like, no, I don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't eat that thing. I don't think that way. I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
And you just stay in that spot. No, I don't go out after this hour. That's not something that I'm involved in.
Sure.
And then you just stay there. You stay, and we were arguing this last night was about how I think being stubborn. And this is Melissa. This whole conversation is Melissa. And so, and then the idea was that being stubborn is like the path of least resistance. And I was like, no, to be stubborn, I think, is the hardest thing to do. You're so afraid of change that you just decide not to roll with the punches and to go with change is the easiest thing to do.
The reason we're I mean, it's back to that the rat incest thing. It's like people.
You're gonna have to explain that.
Okay, basically rats have sex with their first cousins because it's a minor difference in genetics, so it's familiar enough that they. So anyway, so we have that all the time with things that are familiar. Things maybe aren't that great in our lives, but we go, at least I know it.
Yeah.
That's what Applebee's is. You go, it's not great, but at least I know what I'm getting.
Yeah.
So that's what we do with our stubborn. It's way easier to be stubborn than to do something new, because you have an educated guess on how something's going to be.
Alone, I agree with you.
What do you mean?
But when there are other people involved and you decide to be stubborn, which is when being stubborn really takes effect. Being stubborn when you're by yourself is not really being stubborn. It takes effect when somebody else wants you to do a thing, and for you to resist that so hard. That's hard. To go.
I think it's the default thing. I think it's like it's scary. The unknown is frightening to me, and that's what we have to do.
It's become the default thing. I don't think it is the default thing.
I think it is the default thing.
No, it's become.
You go way back. No. Okay, so hold on.
Let's talk when you're in a cave.
That's what I was about to bring up. A cave. You're not in the cave. You're outside of the cave. You know what's outside of the cave.
Yeah.
So do you go in or not?
Oh no,
you don't know what's in there.
I'm talking about you living in a cave.
No.
Going back to Neolithic man.
Well, here's what I'm saying. I'm also talking about primitive mankind. If you are outside of a cave, you look in the cave. It's dark. That's what a new experience is. That's what someone's saying. Hey, let's try this. Is. You don't know what's in there.
Yeah.
We are afraid of what's in there. We assume something dangerous is in there, not something that is rewarding. So we stay out of the cave.
I think we can find analogies for all of the things that we're trying to prove. I think that's what's beautiful about language. But
I'm saying the instinct is, hey, I probably shouldn't go in there. Okay. That's for most people. But I think as an artist, hold on. As a creative person, you condition your brain to keep finding new information, keep having new experiences, because that's what's exciting. That's what helps you grow.
Right. Like sex and porn. Find new.
I guess so, but eventually it just becomes the same thing. It becomes so familiar, you know.
But then sex would be that then too.
It can become that, but you got to think about you have to think about the common experience of pornography. It is a ritual experience.
For who?
For most people, it is there is a pattern of behavior. Okay, and sure, you may be looking at new things or a new person or whatever, but the ritual of it: open your laptop, go to the site. You know, it has your favorites or whatever you click on it. You do it's the same hand you've always and then you close it. It is a very ritual experience. We like the privacy of it. We like the taboo of it, and we're addicted to all those things. You know?
Yeah.
It's not a new experience. It's the same experience over and over and over again.
It's a controlled thing. Yeah, for sure.
That's the way I view sexuality. It's like. There's a spectrum of sexual experiences, and sure, being with a new person, watching a new person, whatever, that's great. But I think some of the most rewarding sex is when you get deeper and deeper into your understanding of the person that you're with.
Right, but that's where I separate sex, porn, and masturbation. Is the things that you're getting from porn and masturbation, you're never going to get. Well,
it's very selfish.
The sex part, you're never going to get from the.
Sex at least is a mutual thing, right, where two people experience something together. Right. Porn is very, very selfish.
Right.
And it conditions us to be that way. It conditions it I want to.
Now that's a keen argument that could have been tossed into last night that I would have agreed with.
Well, it just goes hey, I don't need other people. I can make myself feel good in the privacy of my own. But think about all the things that had to go into having that experience. We built the internet. We've got silicon chips and this really complicated arrangement.
But there's been porn forever. So that's just a byproduct of the tools that we use it. But whether or not we had a computer, you'd still be looking at a magazine.
Sure.
And and flipping back and forth and finding the page that you like and the one that turns you on and so I don't know. I think drawing on a cave wall. There's always the ones. And the thing is, you're still using your imagination. You're either imagining that you're there. You're either imagining that, or if it's a magazine, you're imagining it's happening. You still put yourself in the situation.
Two-dimensional images on a screen. Two-dimensional moving images.
Let me ask you a specific question. When you watch porn to masturbate? No. You don't. Never.
I mean, I have. But
okay, so when you do, where's the first person? Are you a dude in a closet watching these people, or are you one of the people in the scene? Where do you put yourself when you're doing that?
I'm outside of it all.
You're outside of it all.
Yeah.
You're not imagining that you're sleeping with the girl. Okay. I think a lot of people put themselves in the thing. There's a whole genre of porn called POV, which is point of view, which is they film it as if it's your dick with the girl. So there's still elements of using your imagination there and storing those images.
Kind of, but not as much. I mean, there's all the pieces are already there for you.
Sure.
So you don't have to do anything. It's the difference between, let's take a movie and a book. Okay, you have a book that's the same story as the movie, but you have to create all. You
cast the movie, right? You do you do all the things in your head.
A book is just so our alphabet has 26 letters. Language on the written page is just an abstract set of symbols arranged and the fact that we can create entire realities out of that is insane to me. That's amazing. And the fact that we've moved away from that is really upsetting. I don't know what these are.
You think language is gone? Do you think language is ruined by movies? That's a whole other argument.
No, I don't think language is ruined by movies, but I think I think language and images are connected. I mean, that's literally what words are. Is I say words that create images in your head
and describe images that exist.
Yeah, and so our communication has weakened because we're an image-based culture. So if you don't have the words to access the images in your head or someone else's head, and you have to have the images provided to you, then your perception of reality is very limited.
Right. Well, we find that in stand-up all the time. Yeah. We had this argument about the Eric stuff. Eric Anker, who was on this tour, the inception of this tour. A lot of his jokes were sort of like solving yourself for the audience, and we would debate this point for hours. They were solving yourself. He would instead of saying the last thing, a lot of his punchlines were to not say the last thing, so that the audience had to do the work. We would debate this point forever, but it's like, as every year goes by, it's harder and harder to present that type of joke to people because of what the entertainment they have in front of them. You have to say the thing.
Yep. The entire basis of comedy, even in our lives when we talk, speech and thought are at different speeds. Hopefully, I hope people think faster than they speak. So when I'm speaking, you should be thinking and filling in what I'm about to say before I say it, and then surprise happens. That's what comedy is.
Right.
But I think because we're consumers of media, we are being told stuff all the time, and we're waiting for the speaker to fill in the blanks as opposed to being engaged and guessing.
Yeah.
We're never guessing anymore. We're just waiting for us to be told.
Yeah.
And I think that really affects the way that you look at things and the way you live. If you're just waiting for people to tell you stuff.
Right.
It's weird.
Okay, but if you know that and you're an artist, then wouldn't you want to use that information as a tool to get to the place that you want to get to? Because you know that, so then I've seen comedians say things that are untrue on purpose, and the character is this world where they sort of like they project this sort of ignorance, but then make it very clear that they have all the information. So they initially project the ignorance to get the reaction. And then in proving the ignorance, it's kind of like the Colbert Report. The guy pretended to be a Republican pundit, and then the whole time he was arguing the other side. There's a fake Republican.
That's like, I think that's a higher level of entertainment and art, because it's like there's a disconnect between character and the mind behind the character. And that's what I'm saying, that I don't think a lot of people that watch entertainment think about is like, who's making this? It's really important who's making it and who's behind the makers.
Well, and that's what I heard on the Oklahoma thing. They went all day, and I'm sorry, I don't know which documentary it is, but they spent like an hour presenting pieces to break down the documentary about Mike Brown and cops not being arrested for violence and all sort of thing, and they just went at it from all angles and tried to basically diminish this. The guy had a higher agenda in making a documentary, and then he was making up information. But then all I was thinking about was the intent of the person saying it on the thing. So it's like both attacking both. Do you know the documentary?
But it's important who's making this. Like, I really want to watch these documentaries made by Steve Bannon. You know Steve Bannon?
Yeah.
He made like 10 documentaries over the past 15 years. And I think it's really important for us to watch those to see how he views the world. That guy's got a lot of power right now, and I think he's kind of a psychopath. I want to see what he thinks. Like, I don't know, he's like an apocalyptic dude. Oh man, I had a great realization the other day about like kind of this whole doomsday mentality in our culture right now, and I think it's worldwide. I think it's basically, it's really hard to explain, but it's like, it's basically the human race like marching into non-existence because the way that we live has no real value. So life does have meaning and value, but not the way that we're doing it. So we look around, we're like, that's where the apathy comes from, is we're like, is it really worth continuing this whole just modern life.
Yeah.
And it's because our cultures have all the wrong values. So it's like we're basically,
so you're saying,
subconsciously, intentionally marching towards non-existence because
you're saying
we're like, it's kind of not worth.
You're saying people that believe in the apocalypse, or people that, or are you talking about like literally like entertainment, like the Walking Dead?
I mean, it's all connected.
Sure.
So like people really think that things are, we like, this is objectively true. We are, if we continue doing things the way if we don't change our behavior as a planet, we are marching towards non-existence. And I think as a race, human race, we're saying that's okay because life isn't that great the way that we're doing it.
So then with this argument, you're almost saying that like some of this entertainment stuff, remember we talked to the guy actually in Albuquerque last time we were here, and he said that the military was actively recruiting guys who played POV games and guys with the high scores, and these people were desensitized to on-screen murder, and that's what they're looking for. Is there an argument here that entertainment is trying to desensitize us to basically mass murder? Like not mass murder, but like if we run out of water, like we think we're going
catastrophe.
People are going to die.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah, I think...
and we're going to have to be okay with that. And we're going to have to have the instinct to survive on our own and be fine that probably everybody that we've ever known will be dead at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, my favorite author, Don DeLillo, talks a lot about, and he's been writing about this for decades, about the images of tragedy.
Sure.
And how they're all around us, and we are all voyeurs of catastrophe.
Yeah.
And it's just so much of the human experience now is just like my favorite scene in one of these books was basically, it was I think in Egypt or something, this like guy who, you know how in these other countries these leaders are basically like viewed as deities, where they like people attach like spiritual
not now but back
no for real like right now. Oh yeah, like Kim Jong-il and stuff like that. Oh yeah, they think he's God. Like
do they?
Like yeah, of course. So anyway, one of these like godlike dictators dies, and people had attached so much importance to him, and he was such an important part of their life that like there are like 3 million people at his funeral. Yeah. And they're losing their minds because they just basically saw God. Like they're seeing God's dead body. Yeah. To them.
You're right.
And so they get his body out of the casket.
This is a real story?
Yeah, this is real. And it was on the news, and they're like, so like in the story, the main character's watching this all happen, and he's just like, enamored with this.
What are they doing in his body? They're tearing it apart? What are they doing?
No, they're like, they want to touch it, and they're all, these alive people are throwing themselves into his grave. They're all like fighting to get in his grave and stuff. It was crazy. But anyway.
To die?
Yeah, like I don't know, but anyway, so it's like, that's what we see now is like these huge, like, demonstrations of like, when we can, I don't know, the phenomenon of crowds is so interesting to me, especially on on a million person level. Yeah. It's like the behavior of the crowd is so crazy. Yeah, and that's what happens.
Mob mentality. This goes back to the argument we had on the phone there with, when 100 people kill somebody, is it there's no murder. You were talking about this. This happened. The hooligans. They'll kill a referee.
Oh yeah.
Was that you or Adam?
Yeah, it was me.
They kill a referee, and then
the stadium. And then
they just go. What are they going to arrest everybody? Nope. Just everybody goes home.
That's the same thing like in school, where it's like if everyone drops their pencil to mess with the substitute teacher.
Is it empty?
Yeah. Can everyone get in trouble for it if everyone drops a pencil? When you can send everyone to the principal's office?
When it's 25 people, sure. You're
going to send the class to the...
Yeah, why not?
I don't know if that's ever happened.
Yeah, I don't know. I would. I would have, but I would assume I'd have better control over my classroom.
Maybe.
But,
man, when we were driving to the camp, there's so many, like, just everywhere you go in America, there's like, the same chains, the same restaurants. So we were trying.
And it's not the same, but it is. I mean, there's going to be 7 of them.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a drugstore.
Well, hold on. Let me. So this was the game where we drove by a thing and we're like, it was kind of a nicer like strip mall.
Yeah.
And we were like, let's predict what's going to be here, because everywhere you go, it's the same.
How right were you?
We were pretty right, but okay, so imagine kind of like it's in the suburbs.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll give you one store. There's a Target here, okay? But there's like dozens of other things.
In that chunk?
Yeah, can you name 5 companies that are there?
Well, there'll be a Home Depot or Lowe's.
Home Depot and Lowe's, nice.
Well, yeah, because when they drop a Target, then usually like they'll drop a Walmart.
Okay, give me some food. So what's the food?
100% there's a McDonald's there.
Okay. McDonald's, but that was like kind of on the outskirts.
Well, McDonald's, because McDonald's is the one that always spent the money to figure out where to put stuff.
Yeah.
Burger King's whole motto was that they would wait till McDonald's put a thing and then they would put the Burger King. There was something like an Applebee's or a TGI Fridays.
Okay.
Or whatever the one in the that town is. Toby Keith.
There's a very obvious one. This is everywhere. It's like one of the biggest things now, and we go there sometimes for food. Way too expensive for what it is. But
I don't know. Dairy Queen?
Panera's everywhere.
Oh, see, I don't find that. But see, you're from St. Louis though, so that's a whole other thing. So there's almost no Paneras on the East Coast.
Oh, okay. There's in Hoboken.
There's one in Hoboken now, and that's the thing. And this is why I know it, because people were like, "Oh, there's a Panera in Hoboken." People were coming from the city to go to the Panera in Hoboken. They knew that it was there. And now there's one in Manhattan, but there wasn't for like a long time. Yeah.
Anyway, you see the same shit over and over again, and it's very frustrating to me. But it's all about how your brain is. So what we were talking about with new experiences, the cave. I like the cave. I like going into a new place. But I would say
I love diners.
The majority, yeah, absolutely. But you also kind of know what you're going to get there, kind of.
What? Well,
there's a familiarity.
Well, it goes back to I know that it's not a great place for cuisine, so I'm going to get something that you can't mess up, like an egg.
Sure.
I'm going to get an egg.
But anyway, so I think
eggs and potatoes.
And the majority of people, we like the familiar. And so I think there is a certain comfort to seeing the Lowe's and the Target.
You can't open up Andrew Frank's burger shop in that town because you will be out of business within a year. Sure, because nobody's going to go to Andrew Frank's burger.
It's the same thing, and I have this too. And I'm always curious about new music, new comedy, new books and stuff. But there is a certain there's something that comes along with a name that you recognize.
Sure.
And so
which is the whole thing of advertising.
If I'm looking at a comedy club and there's a headliner that I don't know, I should look the headliner up.
Yeah.
But sometimes I'm like, oh, they don't have any names.
It's not a good club.
But it's like
that guy could be great.
But I think I don't think this is the way that
how else are we supposed to process information? We can't assume everything's good, and we don't have enough time to waste to give us a bad experience and waste our money. So it's like,
but I think we have enough time to investigate a little.
Sure.
How little effort people put into the entertainment that they. I mean, so I just got booked on this show in the middle of nowhere.
Well, let me ask you this real quick.
And the guy literally he messaged me, "Hi, would you like to headline this club in the middle of nowhere in Missouri?" He told me the amount of money, and he said no politics. Okay.
You said no?
I said, well, here's what I do. My religion is primarily my material is primarily religion, politics, science, and psychology. I go, have you seen me before? He didn't answer that. He just goes, it's a conservative crowd, Christian Republicans. I go, I'm very familiar with performing for Christian Republicans, but I just want to let you know this is what I do. I talk about these things. And he goes, should be fine, and booked me. It's not going to be a good show, but he didn't put in the effort. So I'm going to go in and do what I do. And man, I keep going to these, But
this is the room that you get the mic taken from you. Why do you take this gig?
Because I want to figure out a way to do it. I want to figure out a way to win.
Now, here's what I understand. Now, okay, so we had a whole conversation about how,
it's a combination.
No, it's almost like you don't support the ways to be successful in this business. Like you don't believe in advertising attaching their name to a brand or whatever. Right?
Which, by the way, Get Out, the second time I saw it, clearly sponsored by Microsoft.
That's what I told you. The Windows, everything's Windows. Yeah, I said that right in the middle of the movie. No, but But you're taking someone's money that you know is going to be upset. So it's the same thing. You're taking his money.
Yeah,
it's the same thing. So you gotta understand that when you're in this business, you can't just be a fucking monk in this business.
Yeah.
So you gotta get over it. So you gotta understand who you are.
Say no to shows that are like in conservative places.
You know, if you know it's gonna be bad, you know they're gonna take the mic from you. If you know it's gonna be a bad show,
no, I want to find a way to do it. I want to learn from all my prior experiences and find a way to do it my way and still put on a good show. You know.
And that's fine, but it's all part of the same thing. For you to have such a stance against, going and being in a payway ad where only your hands are in there because you can make $20. When your friend is the one shooting it, I mean, that's an odd stand. Which and it got to this weird, point in the conversation that I think is an overreaction. So let's skip over all of that.
Yeah.
The thing I wanted to ask you was. Now, mob mentality, an audience being kind of wrong all the time, us all thinking that what we're doing is right. In the world where you believe that, and I truly believe that people are generally wrong, and taking people's opinions about things, a lot of times is a faulty response. So how do you feel about like restaurant reviews or Yelp reviews? Do you trust the reviews that you read? You trust if it got mostly good reviews?
It depends. Like subconsciously, we're all. It's just a matter of like how much effort you want to put into researching. Because like I looked up restaurants yesterday to go to, and I trusted the stars.
So that's the thing. If most people think it's good, doesn't that automatically, based on everything we just said, doesn't that automatically mean it's shit?
Well, here's what I'll say. I think if we're talking about things that are mental, things that are ideological. Yeah, I think the majority of people are wrong about most things.
But you were at Toby Keith's, and you said there's people here that love this food and they love it or whatever.
I like the food.
So all the people that went there, so all the people that go there, are they shit? Are they full of shit?
Here's what I was going to say.
Is the restaurant shit because people like it?
When it comes to more the things that are like in the front of our brain, the more cerebral things, I don't know if people have as much access to that stuff. The primitive shit, like, hey, this beef tastes good. I think they're very good at saying what something tastes good. So yes, I trust.
But that's not what goes into the reviews. What goes into the reviews literally is like people are like, well, I came here and it took them 16 minutes to see my family. Isn't that how people rate a restaurant?
I guess so.
Is the service?
I guess so.
Nobody just writes burger yum 5 stars on the goddamn review. Ever.
But what I'm saying is, I think that I think our tongues are. I don't know. I think people know what tastes good.
Okay, but then let's speak to the people that actually write the reviews.
I don't know who these people are.
Well, let's think about it. It's going to be the people on one extreme or the other. Nobody goes to things like it's fine, and then they go review and go it's fine, and it's only the people who are like, I fucking love this place. I have money staked in this place, or my sister works here, or they're like, listen, they fucking shit on my plate and brought it out.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, our apartment. I got a new apartment. And all the reviews were bad, and I didn't care. We went in and saw it for ourselves.
Okay, but you've also told me about like multiple problems.
We did have cockroaches 2 days into moving in, and then we had to move to a different apartment. So yeah. But I like so we're in the same like complex. We just got a new room.
So the whole thing. Where I keep landing on a lot of things when I have these large discussions is it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. We're all wrong, we're all right. Questioning everything is great, but then there's no answer.
And that's and so many people like this exist. Like their view on like things are just like little sayings like that, like.
Right.
Like
speaking bumper stickers. Whenever somebody says some shit like that to me, I'm like, can you not speak to me in bumper stickers?
Damned if you do.
Damned if you do. Damned if you don't.
Well, that's how we fucking elect presidents, is on slogans. Like that's how we love slogans.
Do you know what's great is that was Reagan's slogan.
Yeah.
He used the exact slogan that Reagan had, and I was going to work on a joke about this, and it upset so many people. Like it was like there was no reaction to them because when I was like, oh, that's the same slogan as Reagan. No reaction.
It's like Star Wars Episode 4 and the new one, Force Awakens, are the same movie. We love the same stuff. The same movie.
Yeah.
Same exact movie.
Yeah.
We just love it when it's like, oh, we love it when the same thing is separated by about 30 to 35 years.
Yeah. Well, that was literally the basis of the Back to the Future movies.
Yeah. No, I was thinking about like, because I have that new joke about 3-word slogans. I was thinking about like, why is it that a 3-word slogan is so, why are we so attracted to it? And I think it's because...
Now, your joke is about Black Lives Matter.
It's about a lot. Black Lives Matter, All Lives Matter, support our troops. Those are the 3 that I have so far. There's more 3-word slogans that I need to do. But I think it's because we can read a 3-word slogan in an instant of a second. You read it before you even realize you're reading it. And so we think a complex, we think something complex is being communicated, but it's not. It's something big being summarized in 3 words, and we like that. We
eat more beef.
Yeah. Or like, what is it? Quick Trip has a slogan, "Fresh is good."
Yeah.
We just like it's because we don't even have to read it.
Yeah.
You just your brain sees all those words and puts it together.
Follow me to McDonald's.
Yeah.
Follow me to the McDonald's symbol.
Well, that like honestly, if we're talking slogans like logos and symbols, those communicate so much more, and there's no reading involved at all.
Yeah.
And I think symbols, obviously they're valuable, but I think that they are a breakdown of communication because they do not mean the same thing to other people, and so that's where language stops.
Sure.
Is if okay, let's take the word America. That means something different for me than it does to you, or for someone who's Native American, or for someone who's African American.
What about?
It means something so different. We're all using the word God. All these things mean different.
What about apostrophe America?
Yeah,
that one. That means
well, I think
very different.
I think the word America is basically it's a very American thing where we embrace we have an ironic pride for our ignorance or our flaws, and that is a very uniquely American thing. Our humor is a lot of times us being like, well, we're pieces of shit, but whatever.
Wait, this is great. They didn't even name it. They just call it indoor water park, and it's part of the Hampton.
Oh yeah.
They just built
it's pretty cool.
It's literally just it's a greenhouse with what is it called? Slides in it, water slides in it.
It'd be funny if the slides grow bigger. It's like a greenhouse but for slides. It gets the sun and it's just like the hugest slides.
Wouldn't they shrink?
I don't know.
In the heat. Click it or ticket.
But what was it? Oh yeah, I think it's a very American thing for us to be like, like I don't know, like putting the word America on our beer, like Budweiser or whatever. Like
no, what's great about that? I mean, you know, right? It's not even an American product.
Yeah,
it's a Swiss company.
Belgium?
InBev, Belgium. Nah, InBev's. I think
it's a Belgian company, Anheuser-Busch. I know.
No, Anheuser-Busch is an American company. InBev bought Anheuser-Busch.
Okay.
10 years ago.
Anheuser-Busch is the same as that. That's
right.
A huge thing.
Right, I know. I've always lived in a place where there was Baldwinsville. There's a Budweiser plant. I've always lived in places where there's Budweiser. Columbus.
Okay, there's a connection between the porn thing and the beer thing. That's the same thing. We've bottled up chemicals that you're supposed to go earn. You're supposed to go through activity. You're supposed to have dopamine be released in your head. We found a way to ferment liquid.
Yeah, but you're acting like these are new things. Porn, beer, all this shit goes back.
I know.
Way before, like even almost before civilization.
Sure, and I'm not saying that I haven't experienced those things, but I think it's a much lower level of experience than when you naturally have those chemicals. Same stuff. So like, it's the same.
It's comedy though. That's all comedy is. That's all doing what you love is.
Yeah.
Is jamming your body with dopamine.
But we get addicted to the wrong stuff. Sure. So comedy actually makes me a more thoughtful person, a more creative person, a more adventurous person.
This is what we're talking about.
There's no way I'd be in Albuquerque, going to Albuquerque right now if it wasn't for comedy. It's like it has had a positive influence on my life. It pushes me in that direction.
Right. Well, and for you spend all day,
and I get addicted to it.
You spend all day working on an idea, and that's the dopamine all day long, and then you get it out at night.
Yeah. And I think ultimately.
And then we talk about the shows afterwards. That's what's great about these trips is the full immersion in this whole process. So and you can't, and that's why we get so much better during these trips.
But I think that's the process of love, and it doesn't have to be with a person. It can be with something. It just. So love is basically you being addicted to the chemicals that you experience from a certain thing, whether that be a person or an activity. But for it to be like really fulfilling love, that whatever the person is or the thing that you're pursuing has to be rich enough and like infinite enough for you to keep exploring it. And I don't think alcohol is like that. I don't think porn is like that. So it's the same thing. It's the same. You're being pulled in that direction because you like the chemicals, but there's nothing more you can get out of it. Right. What, are you just going to drink more alcohol?
Right, but that's why
to watch weirder porn?
But that's why I say that, and that's why porn is a tool.
It's a tool, but
it's not a.
It prevents you from the real stuff.
I don't think it does. I think it's. I think it's
exactly what we were saying about like things may not be that great, but you go, it's good enough. I know what it's like. Let's not take a risk. That's what it is. You don't like if you regularly.
But I don't think porn is stopping people from falling in love.
Yeah, I think it is. You're a very confident person. You'll walk up to a woman. I think that technology has made us. Okay, it's gone off.
That's the thing I'm working on. Is this idea that nobody does it anymore? We're already at the point where literally I have on my phone a thing that tells me all the girls in the area that want to talk to me.
Sure.
All of them. Because I ask all of them, hey, do you want to, hi, hey, do you want to talk to me? And all of the girls that want to talk to me respond to me. Yeah. So now I'm done. I've already done all the work I need to do, and I haven't even left my fucking room.
Yeah, I think it's gone. There's positive things. There's negative things to this. So
I think it's negative.
Well, here's a positive for it. I think someone who is a smart person may have a little social anxiety, but has a lot. Hold on. But it has a lot of potential for love.
I haven't said anything. Don't cut me off from shaking my head.
I saw your head. Someone who is maybe a little more shy, but someone who can be a good partner for someone. Hold on.
I don't have a better.
Hold on. Wouldn't have the confidence to walk up to a person. So like basically,
so they don't deserve that person.
No.
You have to be. For you of all people who believes in bettering yourself, getting more information, doing these things to be. This is all part of, and it's not right. It's not Darwinism, not natural selection, but in a way it is. You have to make yourself a better person for people.
But like here's what I'm saying. The way sexuality has been for millions of years, it has rewarded the aggressive. And I don't know if aggression is something that should be rewarded that much.
No, it rewards wealth, sure. Wealth, aggression, and knowledge. It rewards these things. So, this is an old bit, but I never got far enough with it. But the idea was that the only so I didn't have heat, hot water, or power in my apartment for one weekend, and this girl still came and visited me, and I was still able to sleep with her, and that ruined all of my motivations to make myself a better person. Capitalism, all these things, is a response to I have to get pussy. This is the society that we've built. Like, the capitalism is built on a male-run society, for right or wrong. It's just the way that it is. And these things are the ideals of these things are: if I have more money, if I have more power, more women will sleep with me, either by force or by choice. But either way, these people will sleep with me.
And so now, do you see like the negative porn argument where it's like now you have access to sexuality, and you did nothing, and you can just have it whenever you want it. Whenever you pull up that browser, you can have it. I think it makes us worse.
Okay, but
you're a person who watches porn and has sex. You're not even factoring in the people that never actually.
I'm speaking, and I'm trying to specifically speak about me because it doesn't affect me that way. That's correct.
Yeah.
There are people, but I don't think that those people are right for not leaving the house or trying to use porn as sex. But that's where I had a problem with the argument where I was having.
So not only so you're watching. Not only is it easy for you to access the porn as the viewer, all you got to do is click a few things and then you're there. That's not how sex works in real life. But also, hold on. But
prostitution has always been there.
Sure.
So these people are the same people.
But you also
you're talking about the same people that order a prostitute.
Okay. But also, when you look at the scenes that are being depicted in porn, the access to sex within the scene is so easy. Within a minute of the scene starting, sex is happening.
Well, no, that's the way we consume it now. But they still make porn movies where there's a plot, there's a thing, and I'm coming to the house, and my wife's gone, and and these things happen. But yeah, the way we can literally just pull up the first scene, boom, a fist.
That's the phenomenon
a fist
for you.
into
Like
a hole.
when we were in Lincoln at that Sinclair, you thought that the old lady at behind the counter, you thought that it was a possibility you could have sex with her, and I'm saying that is a completely warped view of reality. And
that's what's so funny is the person that you were then and the person that you are now, I think, are different people.
I know,
because I think you're fully aware that is an accessible thing now. You've gotten on stage, said a bunch of things, and then had sex with people in that room. So you know that within an hour of meeting a person,
okay, what are you going to hang out on that Sinclair for an hour?
No, but that's. I mean, you've gotten laid from doing 10 minutes of comedy, and that's a real accessible thing, and that's always been a thing. You can have sex with somebody. There's something fun about having sex with a stranger. Now I haven't done this. I've never done this, but the whole problem that I had, and the whole reason that it became a bigger issue was, I go, did I think I could sleep with that girl? I'm not going to. And Eric goes, yeah. And then you and Jordan go, there's no way. And so it became a bigger issue because it was like, yeah, I want to know that I can. Right.
But that's so more important than the actual sex to you.
It absolutely is.
And a lot of times you figure out that you can by actually doing it. But it's not the sex that's enjoyable. It's the fact that you know that you can.
Generally, all sex that doesn't have that deeper connection, yes, is the same for me.
Yeah.
You either have a connection, and that's incredible, or you don't, and then you just have the one level. And then if you have the one, but again, that's I try to mitigate that. And I'm at a point in my life where I don't have sex with strangers. I don't have sex with people that where it's just gonna end. I try my best not to have anything that can, And we were talking about this, whether or not we think that even some of my relationships that happen over the course of a year are still kind of a one night stand, just stretched out. But I try my best not to have those singular experiences. I don't think that they're the way to consume, and that's again the wrong word, sex.
Yeah.
But
let me say this though. If we're talking about like a bunch of different relationships that are maybe short, maybe there's no real reason to actually grow or change in a positive way if you keep hopping around.
No, I think the opposite. I think because I'm questioning monogamy.
I know you do.
No, I'm questioning monogamy at this point in life because I don't know who I'm going to be good for. Who should be good for somebody? They can hear all this. Is who's good for somebody over a long period of time. Like if I'm changing every single day. And it's because of new experience, because of new people that I'm meeting. But I get where you're coming from, where you're like, okay, well, I'm not trying to be better but I'm only not trying to be better for a specific person. I'm still trying to be globally better, and I have 2 years. You know me, 2 years. I'm a much different person. I think I'm a better person. I think a lot of things that I've been involved in, I've seen, the error of my ways, or what the streamlined version of something is. I critically think way different than I used to. I problem solve. I have conflicts way different than I used to, and that's just over 2 years. So why would I be good for the same person for over that period of time? And why would that person be good for me?
Well, I think why that person is good for you is because when you're really, really deep into a relationship and you're experiencing love, I think you end up seeing yourself different. You end up seeing yourself through the perspective of someone who loves you and knows you. And I think time is something that allows for that to happen. Whereas, sure, you can make an impression of who you are with someone for a week or a weekend with someone, but it's if someone's studying your behavior and you start to pick up on patterns and all this stuff, and that person still chooses to love you every day, and you end up basically, you want to be the best person you can be for that person because that person is seeing you so clearly, Well, and so I think like real self-actualization can't be done alone. It can't be done. It's not a singular thing. It's something you have to experience through you loving other people and other people loving you.
Well, and that's what this whole experiment is. Where this is the this version of this open relationship from the standpoint of like in another circumstance, the circumstance where your relationship is, hey, we're together, you can't fuck anybody, you can't talk about liking anybody. Like when you remove that, then I think you get closer to real people. Because look, I think everybody knows that you're wherever you are in the world, you're going to interact with people that you have an attraction to, and they have an attraction to you. If you work in a small office place, there's going to be somebody there that you have envisioned being with. It's a person that, or they try to talk to you, and it's like then you slowly start slipping down this path of like saying less true things, or you tell that person about problems you have in a relationship. You don't bring home with you to the relationship person that you have that somebody is hitting on you, because it'll upset them. So once you remove that, you get to a more honest, open relationship with somebody, and you go, hey, Melissa went on this thing that was basically a date, and he kissed her, and she told me about it, and that doesn't upset me, because we're actually telling each other more of who we are as actual people. And that's the thing, is like every relationship that I've been in where I felt like I had to lie, I felt like those times were ultimately the demise of the relationship, because this person is never going to know who I truly am. I have flaws, and I need those people to understand what those flaws are for me to feel that this is a real and true and loving relationship.
Yeah,
I don't want somebody to think I'm perfect. That's horrible.
I think being honest about your flaws, like with someone that you actually love, kind of forces you to go fix those flaws.
Sure.
Because you don't want to have to keep reporting these mistakes and flaws to this person.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
It's like, especially if it upsets the other person. So like, I don't know, there's certain...
Even if it doesn't, in the circumstance that I put myself in, even if it doesn't, like the how many times I have to, report on a thing, if it becomes a pattern, then it's like you got to go, well, that's obviously me.
Okay, so let me ask you this, and I don't think either of us have ever really experienced this, but say you're really locked in, you know that this person will love you no matter what.
I've been in that.
Okay.
I've been tested. How far can I walk this line, and will he still love me?
Yeah, I think this is a lot of like what marriages are, and why some of them fall apart, is because there's no real incentive to improve or to grow, because you know that person won't leave you.
Well, and I think that's what's inherently wrong with the old concept of marriage. You couldn't legally get divorced. You couldn't for your church. If you got a divorce, your church wouldn't let you back. Your family would disown you. So you had to deal with it, which almost in a way was a better model. Yeah, because now you can literally just go, well, obviously, listen, I don't like the way you handle this thing, so we're done forever.
I think, and this is just a guess, but I think in most people's lives, when they're a little younger, when they were still like really open and looking for love, and then experiencing love, and that I think a lot of people are better people when they're younger, and then they turn into bad people. I think sometimes, like, as time moves on, and you end up getting really cynical, or really you get or hopeless or whatever. And I think I don't know. I think there's a lot of people that are older right now that I wouldn't like as people, but if I met them when they were younger, I'd be like, hey, I like this person.
Okay. Well, what happens? So what happens?
I don't know.
They just decide that. I think that's the stubborn.
I don't think it's
I think they decide. I think they decide to not change anything because they fear.
But anyway, so it's like the chasing love and grabbing it sometimes. Like, I think that's a really healthy thing.
And trying to be. You think we're always trying to be a better
having
person.
it, like possessing love, which is what marriage is. You
okay, I see your
possess
argument.
this person.
You're trying to be a better person. Trying to be a better person. Trying to be a better person so that this person accepts you.
Yeah.
And then once you have them, you go, okay, I got it. I'm gonna get fat.
Yep.
I'm gonna philander. We got kids.
Yep.
I found, But that's what I'm talking about.
Hopefully, having children, you want to end up being the best person for those children. But I don't know.
That's what I'm talking about. The priorities keep changing, right? So it's like, at my point in my life, it's all trying to be the best person for another person. It's all trying to attract another person, and that's the thing, and that's making me a better person. And I might even, based on this conversation, think that that's the better model. You're always trying to be a better person. You're always trying to be the thing at the top, and whether it's the capitalist thing or the power thing or whatever, it's like you're always trying to get to another level. Once you get to a level where you can have everyone, then you stop being a better person.
Yeah. Okay, so I end up bringing up this dude a lot. One of my favorite authors is Erich Fromm. He's this German psychologist, and his theory of love is he basically, it's this difference between it's to be or to have. Okay, so he talks about being in love. It's a state of being, and same with creativity. It's like you are being creative. It is an act. It is something that you actively do. You choose, and it's a skill that you build. Whereas he talks about, like, in American culture specifically, we talk about owning things. We possess these things. So I have a car, you know, but he talks about it's so much more valuable to be than to have.
You want to be a car?
No, I mean that's an object. But I don't know another example. But anyway, he talks about people's identity being in the things that they have, as opposed to being in the things that they are.
We created that.
And love is like that. So like love, like a lot of people, their identity is like, I have a wife.
Yeah.
It's like, no, you should be in a loving union with this other person.
Me and CJ were talking about lists. His wife has this bucket list. I don't make lists because I can just, if I decide that I want to do a thing, I go do the thing.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, but that's the problem. It's house, car, children, wife. These are the things we want to have. But that's a societal thing that we've invented. You said he's not an American writer?
He's German.
He's a German writer. So it's
like,
the same.
I guess he was writing from World War II is when he started writing, and he died in the 80s.
Yeah, that's crazy. So again, the human experience is kind of the same. And again, back to this whole thing where it's all through civilizations. And again, I don't know what an anarchist actually is, but I'm worried that my idea that everything in the world would play out better on Earth would play out better through pure chaos, and lack of structure.
Well, but it depends on if people anarchy could work, kind of, if people actually had what they needed. But if you basically don't give people what they need and you just basically send them out into the wild, it turns into a worse form of what it is now, which is just like people it's all about resources. Right.
But I think that people will figure out a way to get those resources, right? But and theoretically, in my head, I mean, obviously there's way too many people on this planet, but in my head, there's less people, and you could provide for your small little sect of chunk. Yeah. But then again, then it gets back to grouping and civilization, because civilizations make it easier to get the resources, but the resources are not ever divided evenly. Yeah. So even in my anarchy thing, I'll send little drones out to go get my things, and it's like I'm the little king of that world. Sure. So it's like no matter what, that's the human condition.
But I think that's evolutionarily speaking, that desire to we never know what enough is enough when it comes to, say, food or wealth is basically money represents, you can get anything with that stuff. So you can never have enough money because but I think that is a very animal instinct, where I think because we're more evolved now, we're supposed to be applying that instinct to the higher things of life, like love or fulfillment or whatever. You can never have enough love. You can never have enough creative enjoyment. You should be you should have as much curiosity as ever, but you can't have enough food.
We're gonna try to pick up the point. We just died. Comedysbestkeptsecretour podcast. We're just gonna pick up the point, and then we'll wrap the idea.
Okay. What I was trying to say is that
wealth. You can have enough money. You can have enough.
Animals basically. When it comes to a meal, animals never know when their next meal is going to be. So if you find a dead carcass of a buffalo, just eat the whole buffalo. Sure. Because you never know when the next thing is going to be. So we never know when enough is enough.
No, this is true.
We go past the point.
But this is true about animals, and this is the thing that I have a problem with Tess for a while, was she would eat herself to death. She got stuff out of the trash can. She ate a whole pile. She ate an entire loaf of bread, and then I found that loaf of bread. Her body rejected it. She literally vomited up, or she would have died, because she just ate until she made herself sick.
So anyway, there is an...
Is that an animal condition?
Yeah.
Because animals are not eating themselves to death all over the planet.
But we still have that too, to an extent. We just apply it to much larger things. I'm saying we need to apply that instinct to the good things in life.
To things that enrich your brain, but we're never going to do that.
I know. Well, I'm trying to do that.
You are. But you can't.
But what I'm saying is there's an objective point of you have enough stuff. You have enough wealth. you have enough food, you have enough safety. Those are great. Everyone should try to have some of those things, but like we go way beyond that point. There is a point, but I don't think like that line. No one knows where that line is, and I think that there is a line. There is a certain point where it's like, okay, you have enough stuff. Stop doing stop consuming and acquiring so much stuff. But I think that once you get beyond that point,
you literally also think that $100,000 provides for a family.
Not a family. Well, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how things are. I've never had a family. But I'm saying that the people that get beyond that point, they have too much. They're starving for the other stuff in life.
That's true.
So they just is he pulling you over in front of you?
I guess so. Yeah.
No.
He's telling me not to pass him.
Okay. So anyway, you have. I think that they actually overcompensate with the consuming wealth because they missed out on all the other stuff. You know, I mean that's what like Citizen Kane is. Like, you ever seen Citizen Kane?
Yeah, it's been a long time. I think he wants to pull me over. I kind of want to get the exit and then just like so he can't do anything because he can't go backwards, right?
How fast were you going?
No, he didn't like that I passed the guy on the inside, but the truck was like an asshole. So I'm not wrong. What has happened before? Where I'm coming up on a cop and then he like basically turns his back lights on.
Yeah. So anyway, I think we have this great instinct to experience as much as we can. We just use it for the wrong stuff all the time.
But that's, I don't know, man. It's like being a human. That's what we do, right?
My point is like I think we want the better things in life. We don't know how to get them, so we settle for the other stuff.
But there are ages, the age of enlightenment. There are ages in civilizations where we strive for more. We had too much. There was a surplus of things, a surplus of wealth, a surplus of minerals and things. So once we got past the hunter-gatherer mentality, and we figured out we can build civilizations and things, then we realized that that having knowledge is more important, and books and poetry and art. But where are we now? Are we at the point where we don't value art anymore?
Not if there's not some sort of way to commodify it.
Well, I think the problem that we're having is that, no, but as an individual, don't we value art? I think the problem is, and this is the thing we're talking about, is that the level of art has gone down so drastically that we don't even know what's good anymore.
I think a lot of people just think whatever is given to them is good. They expect for it to be good because it's being given to them.
Well, they don't have, because they don't know.
They don't think about who's giving it to them. So, like in Get Out the other day, my favorite part this time around was the blind guy. The first time that the character meets him, and he goes, trust me, I understand the irony.
Is a lot of foreshadowing?
No. What?
To what's going to happen?
Kind of, but
because he knows that he's there for that reason.
Yeah. But he goes, trust me, the irony isn't lost on me of being a blind art dealer. Yeah. That's what networks are. People who work for like these networks, they are blind art dealers. That character says... I've
had those meetings. I've been in those meetings. He goes, where they say the thing to me that already exists.
So, Chris...
I was in a meeting with MTV and they said to me that we're trying to create something similar to like Adult Swim, where it's like animated content. And I was like, well, I'm not interested in doing any of that. So I love, yeah. But they wanted me to change myself to just give them that thing.
Yeah. So the blind character, he goes, I have an assistant tell me what the thing is. He describes it to me, but he can't actually see it, and I think that's so much of like, okay, so like let's take like let's say NBC gives a deal to someone who has.
So he's doing it to everybody. He says, "Don't pass me."
Let's say NBC is going to give a deal.
I think this cop's going to try to pull me over in relation to the other cop.
It's weird though.
Communicating. The little cop buddy.
Just getting in front of that truck. That's weird.
Yeah, the whole thing's weird.
So if NBC gives a deal,
I think this guy's an asshole. But you're allowed to be an asshole because you're a cop. That's a whole other conversation. Look at he's going to pass him on the left now.
I don't think he's going to pass him.
He's gonna. Look, he's doing it. I'm getting off. We're gonna take a piss. I don't like any of the games that are being played.
Let's get off.
Yeah, it's so far. I'm like freaking out. I don't like any of the games.
He's not even behind you.
This guy's not, but this fucking guy. This is all games to me. These are the same games that that everybody else on the road plays, and he's a fucking cop. Somehow it's okay.
So the character goes, this guy tells me that the pictures are good, and then I buy the pictures.
Right.
That's what NBC would do if they give someone who has 4 million followers on Twitter. They go, well, I'm told that you're good because this many people like you.
That's it. You get 1 million followers on any social media platform, you get a TV show. Yeah. That's where we're at. That's literally where we're at.
That's 1 million customers. That's 1 million people that might buy Doritos.
Which brings us back around to where we started, which is why do you, if you're cultivating that audience, what do you give a shit what they do with it afterwards? If your audience is about you and then somebody wants to pay you because you cultivated that audience, why are you upset by that? You did that. That's your work.
I'm just saying I don't want to.
They're not gonna take your audience. Your audience is still gonna be your audience.
Okay, but you have to understand, I want a relationship with my audience where they can trust me, and if I'm doing an ad for Doritos, can they really trust what I'm saying?
Okay, but you're not going to do an ad for Doritos. Well, you were taking it out on all of advertising. You're not going to do an ad for Doritos. You're not.
It doesn't matter who it's for. I don't want to speak for anybody else. I don't want to work for anybody. That's the whole thing.
Not work, but you got to understand that the thing that you've picked. I'm getting up here.
I've picked live entertainment.
But I'm getting up here. I'm going to fuck this cup.
I don't know. Maybe I have something.
There's a fire here. Oh no, it's just a diesel truck.
It's awful.
Yeah, that's what diesel looks like going in there. But it's actually, and I had this conversation with multiple people. It's actually no, that's actually a fire. No, but diesel burns. It's hilarious. It actually is a fire. Diesel burns actually cleaner. It's black smoke because more of the thing is being used. The gasoline we're barely using any of it. We're barely burning any of it. It's not a
chicken plus tires.
Yes. Sometimes you got to eat €1 and buy a new set of Michelins.
Diversify your portfolio.
Look, we did probably like an hour and a half on this podcast. We're probably gonna end up splitting it into 2 pieces. But I love this because this is kind of what all the discussions are on these trips.
All the discussions aren't funny.
Yeah, this is the problem with the Comedysbestkeptsecretour podcast. It's just comedians talking about tragic things. What's going to be amazing is if we shut this off, and then just sit in silence for the next 2 hours.
It is funny. Part of why I hate online content and all that stuff is because I'm a serious person. I just talk about things, and so if this is what people think I am, they're like, oh, he's not funny. I think come see me live and see me tell real jokes.
But I do think there's a place for it. I really do, and I think, a place for it. And I think that I forgot what my
come see the jokes. It's all jokes whenever I perform.
No, but I think
I have an all jokes performance policy and a no jokes offstage policy.
But that's what makes
jokes.
That's what makes us great as people. Anyway, Comedysbestkeptsecretour podcast on our way to Albuquerque.
All right, see you.
We'll pick another one of these episodes as we go. Andrew Frank. Don't follow him on social media. He doesn't.
You can't.
He doesn't want.
You can try.
He doesn't want your business.